What's up people, it's TylerPath. Today is going to be a very important video. I'm talking about how to eat to lose body fat. Now this is going to be a staple video that you're going to want to watch regardless if you're trying to lose body fat or maybe you're bulking and eventually you're going to have to cut. First off, you have to understand how to actually lose body fat in the first place. Now the key factor is whether you're in a caloric deficit or not. You're going to want to be in a calorie deficit if you want to lose body fat. If you're wondering, what's a calorie deficit? Well, it is exactly like what it sounds like, but I'm gonna show you guys a demonstration on what I mean by calorie deficit. So imagine in a given day, you burn this many calories. A calorie deficit is simply when you consume less calories than you burn. And you see this difference, right? This is the caloric deficit I'm talking about. Calories is ultimately energy, so that difference in energy needs to come from somewhere. And ideally, that energy comes from your body fat. Now, since we're talking about specifically eating, this video is specifically focusing over here on how you should be consuming in order to actually stay in a calorie deficit so you can lose body fat. Which brings me to my first tip, which, here you go, Frank, and that is to stay hydrated. I literally just woke up, look at my bed head. First thing I do in the morning, every morning, is literally chug a glass of water. In fact, you see, staying hydrated is important to losing body fat because sometimes when you're hungry, really you're just thirsty. So the more water you consume, the more you kind of like feel not so hungry throughout the day, which is why it's important not only to stay hydrated in the morning, but pretty much throughout the day. I always carry around like a big water bottle with me, drink it pretty much all throughout the day. That way my stomach's always like not so empty. Okay, so that is the first tip on how to eat to lose body fat, and that is really start with water. Drink, stay hydrated. Now I'm gonna be going to the gym right now. I'll see y'all there. Let's get it. All right, y'all, we're here at LA Fitness, crack of dawn. About to get in this lift. Now, in my opinion, working on the morning is probably ideal for fat loss in my opinion because you just give yourself time in the morning to not eat. Afterwards, generally, when you have a good workout, you don't feel like eating junk food, right? You feel like, you wanna get something high in protein, something a little bit healthier. You're in the mood, endorphins are going. So I just think it's a good habit because if you start your day early off being healthy, dedicating time for fitness goals, you have a higher chance of carrying that throughout the entire day. So we're about to hit this upper body workout. Personally, I train fasted, but regardless of whether you eat breakfast or not, working on the morning, I recommend it. Do try it. Let's go. comes to tip number 3, when you're actually cooking at home, I recommend prioritizing 2 things: protein and vegetables. For example, here, I got this fat pack of boneless chicken tenders for the protein. And here we got some Aldi frozen veggies. So you can make it super convenient, right? And then I have a little bit of sweet potato because, you know, it's good to have some carbs sometimes. But carbs aside, this is pretty much the staple of my diet, right? A source of protein and veggies. The reason why you want protein and veggies is these 2 food groups are gonna give you this satiating effect. Meaning if you prioritize protein and veggies, you're gonna be feeling fuller throughout the day. Also, when it comes to protein, that is the most important macronutrient to keep in track of. If you're trying to retain any sort of like muscle mass, you kind of want to be like meeting a minimum when it comes to protein. So I like to aim for 0.8 grams per pound of body weight, but a lot of people make it simple, just do 1 gram per pound of body weight. Now, when it comes to veggies, the reason why it's so important to incorporate veggies in your diet is that there's a lot of fiber in here and there's not a lot of calories. So it feels like you're eating a lot more when in reality, from a calorie perspective, you're not eating all that much. So that's kind of the rationale of all the meals I eat throughout the day, right? I'm always trying to focus on a lean source of protein as well as incorporating some sort of veggie into the dishes that I actually eat, which would then in turn help me keep the calories down. So I'm gonna whip this up and I'll see y'all when the food's ready. There we have it, lunch. Roughly 310 grams of chicken breast and then a bag of the frozen Aldi brand California blend veggies, broccoli, carrot, cauliflower. This is what I'm gonna be eating for lunch. 310 grams of chicken breast is roughly 95 grams of protein. I normally don't track, okay? Which is a lot different from, you know, normal people that are into fitness and stuff, but I see it as this way. If you prioritize protein, veggies, and you don't really eat a lot of like, let's say rice or like kind of like filler calorie type stuff, rice, junk food, you can kind of get away with doing things intuitively. Like naturally, this isn't gonna get me super full and it's probably not any more than like 750 calories in total. I'm gonna chow down on this and I'll see y'all in tip number 4. Now let's be honest, when it comes to staying in a calorie deficit, it's really what happens after lunch that tends to be the most important and basically makes or break whether you're gonna be in a deficit or not. And I mean knowing how to handle and control your cravings. Now personally for me, I have a huge sweet tooth. Realistically, for me to think I can just eat super healthy for the rest of my life and not eat anything sweet is kind of ridiculous. And that's why my 4th biggest tip and probably the most important tip of all is know your alternatives. Going back to my example of having a sweet tooth, you need to find somewhat healthier alternatives that satisfies your natural needs for sugar, savory things, whatever it may be. Follow me to the kitchen. You see, for me, I think the biggest thing to kind of curb my sweet tooth is fruit. I eat a ton of fruit, namely kiwis and blueberries. These are my kind of like my 2 go-to fruits. They're super packed with micronutrients. They taste amazing. And of course, they are lower calorie alternatives to satisfy my need for eating something sweet. Because fruits pretty much act similar to vegetables where there's a lot of fiber in them. They're pretty low in calorie, but the only difference is that they have a lot of sugar, so they're sweet, which means they taste great. And because the overall fruit has fiber in it too, it doesn't have the same effect as, let's say if you just eat like a cookie, which is like refined sugar that pretty much goes straight to your bloodstream. It ends up leading to that afternoon crash. But sometimes you don't want fruit. You want something a little bit more sweet and artificial and processed, something like a Kit Kat, like a wafer or something, which is why I have these. This is my go-to trap card, the MyProtein Crispy Wafers. Now, yes, I want to give you guys a heads up. I am sponsored by MyProtein. I actually really do recommend these products. This specifically, the Crispy Wafer has been probably the best product hands down from MyProtein on the snack side. They're roughly 200 calories, so they're not low calorie by any stretch of the imagination, but I really can't tell the difference between this and let's say like a normal Kit Kat. Like I'd actually choose this over a normal Kit Kat because of the protein content, which it has 15 grams of protein. And taste-wise, it is pretty amazing as well. So this is yet another way to find different alternatives to curing whatever, unhealthy food tendencies you tend to have. This is a good milligram because yes, while it does have I think 6 grams of sugar as well as 200 calories, it is not as bad as, let's say, a Kit Kat. and it tastes good. It has 15 grams of protein, and it allows me to kind of stay based and not eat much more healthy things, right? It cures my cravings. So I highly recommend this, guys. Use code PATH to get roughly 40 to 45% off, depending on the time of the year. But yeah, sweet deal. All right, Frank, you gotta cut the seam, man. I gotta eat this first. But sometimes you don't want something so candy-like. You want something a good middle ground, something that's lower in calories, higher in protein, and that is where I tell you right here. Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is one of the best alternatives to a dessert that is low in calorie and still has good macros, pretty high in protein. So let me show y'all my favorite, and that is this Chobani Zero Sugar brand. Now, these are like 60 calories a pop. It's crazy. 60 calories, I believe 11 grams of protein. Now, if you aren't a fan of artificial sweeteners, you can get the regular Chobani yogurt without any sweetener and then kind of sweeten it yourself. That is also a good option, but Greek yogurt, one of the best things I recommend if you're trying to keep your calories down and stay in a calorie deficit. With fruit, it is up there in terms of alternatives to stuff that tastes good, but still pretty healthy. All right, guys, we are now here at Gather's Tea Bar. About to fulfill my guilty vice, which brings me to my fifth tip, and that is keep your cravings outside your house. Now, I probably spend close to like $50 a month at least on boba or just sweet drinks in general, which begs the question, why don't I just make boba at home? Well, the reason why is because I keep my cravings outside my house. See, if I was able to make boba at home, I'd probably be drinking that every day. Or at least it'll be much harder for me to not drink it every day, right? So what I do is I make sure there's a pain that I have to feel in order to get to the craving. For me, it's boba, but this can go for, let's say if you like Oreos, instead of buying like the 20 pack or whatever, buy a small one so that you don't have to store it in your house and constantly be tempted to eat it. Out of sight, out of mind really rings true when it comes to stuff like this. And you're gonna know on the nights where you're especially hungry, maybe you've been dieting for months and you're like, man, I just want that one little cookie. I just want that one brown sugar milk tea. Well, you want to have some obstacles before you actually get to there. That said, I got a chai tea latte today. See, the problem with me is I like to go to coffee shops to edit my videos, and I try to keep my caffeine intake down. So instead of coffee, I've been drinking a lot more boba. But overall, life is about finding a balance. If I were to restrict myself from drinking boba for the rest of my life, I'd probably burn out and end up binging. But I treat this as kind of like a compromise to myself. I always get a half sugar, I get the small size, and ultimately the Pareto rule, 80-20 rule, 80% of what I eat is pretty good, 20% is that really leads to me being able to be consistent long term. So yeah, big tip. But if you still find it hard to adhere to your diet and follow a consistent fitness routine, then I take it that you're probably just overcommitting and burning yourself out. At the end of the day, you do want to find an ultimate balance, and really what that means for you is finding a structure that actually works for your lifestyle, both on the workout side and the dieting side. So if you're struggling with that, I highly recommend you apply to my exclusive one-on-one fitness coaching program, where I essentially hop on a call with you, go over your goals, and create a structured workout routine as well as a meal plan that actually fits your specific lifestyle so you can actually stick to it and long term reap the rewards that fitness beholds. Because at the end of the day, you need to fall in love with the process in order to actually be able to stay on with fitness. Everyone who succeeds really truly enjoys what they do. So getting you to that place is the most important thing. So yeah, let's get there. Apply in the link in the description. Spots are limited, so apply soon. Don't forget that. Okay, and the last and final tip I want to give is, I kind of call it the final defense tips. It's the stuff that you use as kind of like your trap card when you're, let's say you're deep in your dieting phase, you want to break your diet so bad, you're finding it very hard to actually stick to it. You know, your back is against the ground. Desperate times call for desperate measures, so that is when I recommend, firstly, I can't say it doesn't work, guys. Diet soda. I don't recommend drinking diet soda, right? Aspartame, while it is classified as, I believe it was a class 2B carcinogen, meaning it may be carcinogenic, inherently it should be safe for consumption, even if you drink it every single day. But I would not rely on diet soda. I don't think it should play a consistent role in your diet, but in some cases it can be better than the alternative, which is real soda or boba or whatever it may be that actually will be detrimental to your fat loss journey, right? So when I want something sweet, diet soda can be a good option. And then the last thing I want to talk about is kind of like the forbidden fruit for me, and that is caffeine. There's many ways to have caffeine. It could be coffee, which is very low in calorie, or it could be something like an energy drink, which is kind of as bad as this from that like artificial sweetener angle. Regardless of how you get your caffeine, you know that caffeine is a natural appetite suppressant, so it can help you curb your appetite when you're very hungry. But also remember this, it is very easy to get dependent on caffeine. This is why I don't take pre-workout at all, nor do I drink coffee on a regular basis, because I try to keep my caffeine intake very controlled. With that in mind, what I would recommend that I think is a pretty cool, novel idea is protein caffeine. So here's My Protein's iced coffee way forward, which has 21 grams of protein per scoop and 160 milligrams of caffeine, which is a lot. It is a lot of caffeine, so I recommend half scooping to kind of dilute it a little bit. But these both taste great, and honestly, I see the use case of it, right? It curbs your appetite, gives you 21 grams of protein, it tastes pretty much like coffee, and it's relatively cheap. In fact, it's cheaper than going out and buying a latte yourself. You can just make one of these. And last thing I want to show y'all, and I'm not sponsored by this at all, but VJ Rod, my good friend, he is releasing a caffeinated gummy line called Formula V. They're like 25 milligrams per actual like gummy. Yeah, so they're literally just like gummies. Now, I haven't tried it myself. Like for me personally, I'm trying to keep my caffeine intake low, but it is an option, which is, I think, is a pretty unique option. So with that in mind, overall, the idea behind this video is how to eat to lose body fat. Really comes down to more long-term lifestyle habits more than like a short-term fix, like, oh, eat this, eat that, and eat XYZ, right? Ultimately, if you want to succeed in your fitness journey, you're gonna have to make fitness a lifestyle and approach things in a more sustainable manner for you. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hit the like button to support my page. If you want to see more videos just like this, hit subscribe, click the bell. I'll see y'all every Tuesday and Fridays. Let's get it. Peace.